Here are 25 hidden secrets you never knew about Frasier. Fact number 1. The revisionist history of the Crane family.
Dad?
Well, we had an argument. He called me a stuffed shirt and hung up on me. I was mad.
On Cheers, Frasier says he's an only child and that his father was a research scientist who is no longer alive. Cut to Frasier, and suddenly there's a very alive retired cop in a recliner and a younger brother who looks just like him.
Yeah, you too. Wow. Man, this is freaky. He looks just like you did when I met you.
To make the spin-off work, the writers decided that in Boston he'd been angry and estranged, so he rewrote his family when he talked about them.
You're a cop? You told me he was a research scientist.
You were dead. What did it matter?
That decision allowed the show to bring in Martin and Niles as blank canvases. Fact number 2, the father who never auditioned.
Oh, good morning to you too, Dad.
Morning was 2 hours ago. Well, close that barn door. We got a lady in the house now.
Martin wasn't found in a giant casting call. He was written for one man. Co-creator Peter Casey borrowed heavily from his own dad, a San Francisco cop, and knew exactly the kind of presence he wanted alongside the other cast members.
You expect me to give up my study, the place where I read, where I do my most profound thinking?
I use the can like the rest of the world.
So instead of the normal casting process in Los Angeles, the producers flew to Chicago with the pilot script and handed it to John Mahoney. A Steppenwolf theater veteran who loved stage work, Mahoney was wowed by the writing, especially the clashes between Martin and Frasier.
That's good advice for us all. Anything else?
Yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you, Dr. Crane.
Once he said yes, his grounded, no-nonsense performance kept the series from becoming pure intellectual banter. Martin made sure the real world still featured inside the Crane Boys' Seattle bubble. Fact number 3, Daphne Moon versus Rosie Perez.
Did I mention this was my first basketball game? Yes, of course I did 3 or 4 times. I still can't get over those players.
Daphne could have been a completely different person. Early on, Kelsey Grammer pushed for the legendary Rosie Perez. He liked the idea of a fiery, sharp-tongued character, bouncing off the Crane brothers' snobbery.
We owe it to Niles to give her a chance.
I agree with Dr. Crane. We should all have another Bloody Mary.
The writers fell in love with another angle. A working-class Brit with a mystical streak and slightly off-kilter energy. Someone who cuts straight through Frasier and Niles' nonsense without even trying.
Way to go, Frasier. I like her.
Gee, I wonder why.
Now I see where Frasier gets those gorgeous eyes.
What really sealed it was her chemistry with David Hyde Pierce. Even at the first ever table read for the series, the producers recalled, you could feel the Niles and Daphne spark. With that connection on screen, the Rosie Perez version never stood a chance. Fact number 4, Bulldog, the macho in-joke.
I'll never forget you either, Sandy. Linda? Really? Oh, I thought I was talking to your sister. Oh, well, tell her same goes.
On the surface, Bulldog is every cliché sports radio bro rolled into one. Loud, crude, chasing women, and constantly terrorizing the KACL hallways. The living embodiment of toxic jock energy dropped into Frasier's higher-class world.
Listen up. You go out with Roz tonight, I will rip off your arm, ram it down your throat, and use it to squeeze your heart until it stops beating.
Off-screen is almost the exact opposite. Dan Butler, who plays Bulldog, is openly gay and wrote an autobiographical one-man show, The Only Thing Worse You Could Have Told Me, exploring different facets of queer identity. So the show's most aggressively straight womanizer was actually played by a man very publicly dismantling stereotypes about sexuality in his own work.
Oh, don't you worry about me. I'll sleep fine tonight. Sleep of the just.
Me too. The sleep of the just boinked.
Frasier may seem old-fashioned in some ways, but it was actually making some surprisingly progressive decisions all the way back in the early 90s. Fact number 5, the Grammer economy. As the series' success grew and grew, Kelsey Grammer's paycheck became its own storyline behind the scenes. He started Frasier on a very healthy salary for a spin-off star, around $250,000 per episode.
You know, what you just said made a lot of sense.
You're going to get closure.
No, that business about my success.
But once the show turned into a Thursday night anchor and a prestige hit, that number shot up. By the final seasons, Grammer was reportedly making about $1.6 million per episode. This made him the highest paid actor on TV at the time, more than the casts of Friends or Seinfeld were getting per person.
Listen, BB, I realize that the station is making a handsome profit on my show, but
What can I do? I do have a contract.
Because Frasier was produced by Paramount and aired on NBC, that salary was built into the licensing fee NBC had to pay. Paramount knew how valuable the show was, and even floated the idea of moving it to CBS, which helped push those numbers even higher. Fact number 6. The double duty leads and the missing link. The Frasier Extended Universe is a masterclass in recycled casting. Before becoming Martin Crane, John Mahoney appeared in Cheers Season 11 as a jingle writer named Cy Flembeck.
What's the matter, babe? You can't work with a man you're attracted to?
Oh, God.
Similarly, Perry Gilpin played a reporter named Holly Matheson in the final season of Cheers before being cast as Roz Doyle.
Oh, I get it. This is your hook. You're the innocent farm boy telling the big city slickers to clean up the barn and all that farm crap.
These cameos create a strange continuity, but the real outlier is Kirstie Alley. Kirstie Alley remains the only living Cheers lead who never appeared on the spin-off. Whether due to her personal views on psychiatry or simple creative timing, Rebecca Howe never made it to Seattle.
Oh, don't panic, Roz. Probably just one of my more ardent fans.
Norm, Carla, Sam, Diane, Woody, Cliff, and obviously Lilith all did make the trip at some point during the 11 seasons. Fact number 7, when success became too expensive. By season 11, Frasier was still beloved, still winning awards, and still a solid performer in the ratings. The problem wasn't the audience, it was the bill.
What we want is to sit at a theater and share a transcendent experience
That nobody else could get tickets to.
NBC's licensing fee had climbed to an estimated $5.2 million per episode.
Of course, that's a transcendent part.
Add Grammer's $1.6 million salary, the rest of the cast's well-earned raises, and the show's high-end production values, and each half-hour neurosis got very, very pricey.
Congratulations, Frasier. You've done it again.
The ratings stayed respectable, but the profit margin was shrinking over time. So in the end, Frasier didn't die of old age, it died of its own success. Fact number 8. The mother's violent retcon. The portrayal of Hester Crane underwent a drastic retcon between series. In her Cheers debut, played by Sopranos legend Nancy Marchand, Hester was a cold and manipulative woman who explicitly threatened to kill Diane Chambers if she didn't leave Frasier.
Listen carefully. Stop seeing my son, or as God is my witness, I'll kill you.
This version of the character was genuinely dangerous and devoid of the warmth seen later. By the time Frasier aired, the new series reimagined her as a sophisticated, saintly intellectual, eventually portrayed by Rita Wilson in soft-focus flashbacks.
Ladies, meet the competition. This is the woman against whom we have all been measured.
Lilith, will you please be quiet? Mother is speaking.
This shift suggests that Martin, Frasier, and Niles rewrote her legacy into a polished, idealized version, though more likely is that they just had to flesh out the character a lot more for the spin-off. Fact number 9. The intervention and the rewrite. Kelsey Grammer's off-screen life was tragic. A murdered father, a sister killed, half-brothers lost in an accident. Over the years, he developed alcohol and drug dependencies, and by the mid-1990s, things were spinning out of control. In 1996, he crashed his Dodge Viper in a drunk driving incident near Malibu, and that was the moment everyone snapped into action.
This is Dr. Niles Crane, filling in for my ailing brother, Dr. Frasier Crane.
After talking to therapists, the Frasier cast and crew staged a full intervention at his home. By this point, they were all good friends, and they didn't want to lose him. How do you keep Frasier on the air without Frasier? The workaround became the episode Head Game, where Niles steps behind the KACL microphone and temporarily becomes Seattle's resident radio shrink, while Frasier is conveniently away. Fact number 10. The ooze factor. Writer-producer Dan O'Shannon once painted a vivid picture of Grammer during his roughest years. He said Kelsey would sometimes arrive at the studio looking drained and unfocused, almost like he was just oozing into the building instead of walking in.
Well, I guess maybe you're right. I am depressed. What of it?
And then the red light on the camera would come on. Instantly, he was Frasier Crane again, sharp, energetic, precise. The timing, the posture, the delivery, all locked in.
Well, have some confidence in me, Dad. It won't take me that long.
Fact number 11. Fat Daphne and a real baby. When Jane Leaves became pregnant during season 8, the team didn't just hide her behind counters and giant handbags. Instead, they wrote it into the show as Daphne putting on weight due to stress and emotional eating. mostly tied to her anxiety about Niles.
Daphne, I fixed the exercise machine. Turns out you didn't bend the frame, you just popped one of the springs. What are you doing?
𝐉𝐨𝐬𝐧 wore increasingly heavy fat suits, which was physically tough, and the storyline drew criticism for leaning hard on jokes about her size. When she went on maternity leave, Daphne was sent off to a health spa.
Wire your jaw shut, staple your stomach, put a balloon in your gut.
Thank you, Dad. I was referring to something more like a spa, all right? Although you might look into that jaw thing.
On her return, Niles casually mentions losing 9 pounds 12 ounces, the exact birth weight of 𝐉𝐨𝐬𝐧's real-life daughter, Isabella.
It wasn't easy, but she has already lost 9 pounds and 12 ounces.
Wow, good for her. It's all about willpower.
A very neat meta wink tucked inside one of the show's most debated arcs. Drop a like if you thought it was as brilliant as we did. Fact number 12, the loss of David Angel. Co-creator David Angel was one of the main forces behind Frasier, the guy who could slip real feeling into a show about snobbery and very sharp one-liners.
I suppose the best we can do is live for the little joys and surprises that life affords us.
On September 11th, 2001, David and his wife Lynn were aboard American Airlines Flight 11, the first plane to hit the World Trade Center. The news hit the cast and crew terribly. They hadn't just lost a producer, they'd lost a friend. The Season 9 premiere closes with a simple dedication to David and Lynn Angel. After that, many fans felt a subtle shift in the air. The show was still a comedy, but those questions about happiness, loss, and what really matters landed a little harder. Fact number 13, the silent movie. One of the most memorable scenes of the whole series does not use a single word. In Season 6's 3 Valentines, we watch Niles get ready in Frasier's apartment, and everything collapses in slow motion. He nicks his finger, faints at the sight of blood, sets the ironing board on fire, and quietly destroys the living room.
All right, stop. Take your time.
David Hyde Pierce built most of the physical work in rehearsal, including that perfectly over-the-top feint. Kelsey Grammer directed it like an old silent short. Long takes, minimal cuts, just letting the panic snowball. This specific sequence is often cited as the reason David Hyde Pierce won the Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor that year. Fact number 14, the mathematics of the ski lodge. Season 5's The Ski Lodge is Frasier at peak farce. A snowy getaway, too many bedrooms, and a chain of crushes where every single person wants the wrong person.
Your father did?
Well, blame Daphne. She told him.
I did not. I said she wanted your brother.
Good night, and I please have some privacy.
To pull this off, the writers practically needed a war room. They mapped entrances, exits, and misunderstandings on whiteboards, tracking who knew what, who thought what, and who was sneaking into which room at any given moment.
Daphne! Frasier! I'm sorry, wrong room.
The work paid off, as this episode is still seen as one of the show's all-time greats. And if you want to see more about how Frasier has some of the greatest farce episodes of all time, be sure to check out the channel. Fact number 15, the evolution of Nanny G. The character of Nanette Guzman, or Nanny G, is one of the most frequently recast figures in the franchise. Originally played by Emma Thompson in Cheers, she was portrayed as an unhinged children's performer who kisses Frasier during a song in front of his wife and child.
Oh my God.
The character's return in the spin-off abandoned this portrayal. After a brief appearance by Dinah Spivey in Season 9, Episode 2, as a more sedate character, Laurie Metcalf took over the role in Season 11. Metcalf's version was manic and hypersexualized, transforming the character into a chaotic children's entertainer.
Oh, make me a happy lady, Frasier, and then I can go on.
For the children.
Fact number 16. The Doctor is out. By Season 11, the show leaned into the long-running joke that Frasier is a little too refined for some people's idea of straight.
Well, you'll meet him next month at the concert in Madrid. Oops, now I've spoiled the surprise.
He's taking me to Madrid.
In The Doctor is Out, a mix-up leads a gossip columnist to out him as gay, and suddenly he's being wooed by an opera director named Guy. played by Patrick Stewart.
I'm not gay.
Oh, Frasier, please don't tell me you're still struggling with those issues.
Instead of instantly denying everything, Frasier briefly enjoys the status boost of being part of a power couple.
You realize that every person in this room thinks that you're Alistair's boyfriend?
Listen, I can't help it if people think we're a couple. The point is, I'm enjoying myself, and if you're too jealous to be happy for me, then that's your problem.
The episode pokes fun at his fancy taste and gently mocks how quick people are to slap labels on others. Fact number 17, Ulysses and the revival problem. In the finale, Goodnight Seattle, Frasier signs off by reading Tennyson's Ulysses on the air. The last line is peak Frasier, a man who can't stop chasing the next chapter.
To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield.
That restless streak later becomes the emotional excuse for the 2023 revival, which sends him back to Boston and nudges him into a Martin-like role with his son, Freddie. But without a lot of the key cast members from the original, a lot of fans felt that no amount of poetic callback could fully rebuild the old magic. If you want to keep living the magic of Frasier, subscribe and turn on notifications. Fact number 18, Lorna versus Lana. If you binge season 8 and think, wait, wasn't she called something else? You're right.
Roz, I'd like you to meet Lorna and Lindley. Is that anywhere close?
Gene Smart's character first shows up as Lorna Lindley, only to then later reappear as the same character with a different name, Lana Gardner.
Frasier?
Lana. Look, Niles, it's Lana.
Yeah, I know.
That sudden switch came because of a legal problem. A real-life Lorna Lindley complained about the name and portrayal. So the show changed it, then went back and re-recorded lines for reruns.
I'm off to pick up Lana.
You're oddly chipper about it.
That's why you might catch the odd lip-sync glitch when someone says Lana.
Well, of course I am, Niles. The sooner I deliver her to the surprise party, the sooner I can cast my net of romance over a butterfly named Claire.
Fact number 19, how John Mahoney played high. In season 11's High Holidays, a brownie mix-up leads to Martin accidentally getting high instead of Niles. The obvious choice would have been to play it big. Slurred speech, sleepy eyes, cartoon stoner behavior.
Dad, where are your pants?
In the fridge. I had a reason. Fridge pants.
John Mahoney went the opposite way. He played Martin's accidental high, not as a stereotypical stoner, but with a hyper-focused intensity. This version made much more sense for both Martin and Mahoney. Fact number 20, ham radio and script hell. Ham radio is Frasier in full chaos mode again. Frasier stages a live radio mystery, rewrites the script mid-show, and drags the whole cast into a spiraling disaster of bad accents, missed cues, and way too many deaths.
This is a grisly business, Miss Thorndyke.
I can't believe any of my guests could be a moppable murderer.
On screen, it feels like everyone's barely holding it together, but it was all planned perfectly. Actors juggled multiple roles, and every sound effect had to hit perfectly.
What's this? Dear God, the phone lines have been cut.
Director David Lee treated it like staging a complicated stage farce, rehearsing until the train wreck played like a perfectly timed magic trick.
Look out! He's got a nug!
Fact number 21, Donnie, Mel, and the messy middle. When Donnie and Mel showed up midway through the show's run as real love interests for Daphne and Niles, the writers knew they were poking the bear.
Oh, my God.
That's right.
This is the best corned beef I have ever tasted.
Viewers were already desperate for Niles and Daphne to get together, but the show didn't want Donnie and Mel to feel like throwaway blockers, so Donnie and Mel are written as real, sometimes prickly people with their own full characters.
Well, Martin, I'm sure you'll be locking Eddie out on the balcony if people are going to be eating here.
Well, I'll tell you, I'd like to lock out on the balcony.
A lot of fans couldn't stand Mel, but that was kind of the point. Their big romantic payoff comes with guilt and fallout, not a neat freeze-frame, happy ending. Fact number 22, Grammer's lazy directing style. Kelsey Grammer didn't just play Frasier, he also directed 36 episodes, and his directing style was the opposite of fussy. Most guest directors turned up with binders, diagrams, and detailed shot lists. Grammer would stroll onto the set, take a look around, decide where the cameras should go, and say, "Let's shoot."
Roz, it's Frasier.
Where are you?
I'm in Cassandra's hotel room. She invited me up here after dinner. I'm just not sure what that means.
The crew teased him as lazy, but the episodes he directed, like 3 Valentines, are some of the smoothest and most confident in the run.
How do you know if you're on a date?
Are you alone?
Yes.
Then you're not on a date.
After many years on the soundstage, he didn't need a binder. He just knew how the show should look and move. Fact number 23, Niles and Lilith was a chemistry test. On paper, the season 5 episode Room Service sounds like a terrible idea for family harmony. Niles and Lilith, alone, vulnerable, and suddenly spending the night together.
Now I remember ordering this. It's the breakfast I always have after a night of passion.
But the next morning's breakfast scene worked so well that the writers briefly toyed with doing more with that pairing.
Let's try to stay calm. These things happen. They happen every day. Every day in Arkansas!
In the end, they left it as a 1-episode experiment. A weird little side road that makes the world of the show feel bigger, while the main love story still belongs to Niles and Daphne.
Oh, who knows? It may just work out this time. Okay.
Fact number 24, the Klingon bar mitzvah. Only Frasier would look at a bar mitzvah and think, you know what this needs? Klingon. In season 10's Star Mitzvah, a translation screw-up leads Frasier to deliver an emotional speech in fluent Klingon.
𝐷𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿
The writers originally went wild with the Klingon text, but it had to be cleared by the Klingon Language Institute and network standards, so they reined it in a bit.
You must be very proud of your son, not yourselves.
Grammer plays the whole thing with total sincerity, which is why some viewers thought he was actually speaking Hebrew. Fact number 25, Moondance changes everything. And finally, we have season 3's Moondance. It starts with a simple setup. Niles takes dance lessons so he won't look awkward at a fancy event.
Really doing very well, Dr. Crane. Earlier you seemed a bit tense. You've really relaxed though now, haven't you?
During rehearsal, producer Christopher Lloyd watched that final dip between Niles and Daphne and realized this wasn't just a cute bit. It was a moment. The chemistry between Jane Leeves and David Hyde Pierce was impossible to ignore.
This is the most glorious night of my life.
Oh, mine too.
From then on, their relationship slowly moved from running joke to emotional center. Frasier's own dates could come and go, but Niles and Daphne became the beating heart of the show's middle years. Which of these behind-the-scenes stories surprised you most? If you'd watch a full deep dive on Frasier's best callers, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for joining us behind the scenes of Frasier, and as always,
I'm listening.